Memorizing 10,000 digits of pi sounds impossible, but it's been done. Memorizing the entire Oxford Dictionary sounds even more impossible, but it's been done too. And this video will show you the exact methods used to achieve both of these incredible memory feats. This is my mind map summary of the book Unlimited Memory by Kevin Horsley. The author himself is the one who was able to recite back from memory any combination in the first 10,000 digits of pi, meaning you could tell him to start at the 3,597th digit and tell him to go in reverse, and he'd still be able to do it. Before I start, be sure to watch to the end of this video to get my PDF summary of this book. Alright, let's start this mind map. Kevin himself actually gives an outline of a mind map in the book, but I'll be including an explanation for each part of the map. In the center is memory systems. A memory system is the method you choose to remember certain things. Not all memory systems are equal, and some are only for remembering things like names and numbers, but I'll go over each of them. Here they are: the car method, body method, pegging, places, links, names, and numbers. So before I dive into each of these, I want to really hammer home the points in this book that are highly stressed. They're called the 4 C's: concentration, create imagery, connecting concepts, and continuous use. This is essentially how the book is outlined, and these points are repeated a lot. Because without these 4 things, you'll essentially not be able to successfully apply any of these memory methods. Concentration is something that can be practiced and can only be achieved when you have a sense of peace. Remember PIC, pick: purpose, interest, and curiosity. These 3 things will help you stay focused. Create imagery means to exercise your creativity every day. Creativity and memory go hand in hand. Photographic memory is a myth. Instead, the people with naturally great memories have subconsciously practiced using their imagination and senses to remember things with greater detail. The crazier and more creative you can be, the easier you'll be able to apply the memory methods. Connecting concepts. Long-term memory plus short-term memory equals medium-term memory. What this means is that you'll have to practice the ability to relate what you know very well with things that you don't know often. Continuous use. If you want to put these systems to use, you have to review and practice them as often as you can. According to Kevin, the average person in school only remembers 3 weeks worth of material after 2 years and forgets 82% of information from textbook material after 28 days. But with the memory methods practiced, you can remember all of it with a review every couple months. Those are the 4 C's that will guide you to gaining superhuman memory. Alright, with that in mind, let's move on to the first memory method, the car method. Before we start, note that the car, body, places, and pegging methods all use a similar sort of tool, which is what he calls a mind movie, also called journey. For the car method, you use your car. And yes, it does have to be your car, or at least a car that you're very familiar with. And then you start your mind movie. I used the same example as he did for simplicity. So imagine walking up to your car. You see a bee who's a pro golfer putting the ball. Then you see a brain with legs running on the hood of your car, passing a finish line. Next, you walk up to the driver's side of the car and see a sticker on the handle that says "First Step," because the first thing you have to do is open the door to the car to get in. Once you're in, you see 2 trophies on the passenger seat. The next thing you do is look out your window and see someone sitting under an umbrella. That person now stands up. You look at your rear mirror and you see a sign on the edge of your car with eyes. Then you look at your other side mirror and you see somebody with a saw about to cut your car. Okay, so that was the car method used for the 7 habits of highly effective people. Be proactive. Begin with the end in mind. Put first things first. Think win-win. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. Synergize. Sign on edge with eyes. Synergize. And habit 7, sharpen the saw. So this takes a bit of time to explain, but if you played it in your head, it can be pretty short, probably less than 10 seconds or even shorter once you have the mind movie memorized. Notice that there's quite a lot of play on words here, and not everything makes sense at first until there's an explanation. Kevin designed this car method to make the most sense to himself. What you have to do is imagine objects or events that make the most sense to you, whether that includes a play on words, personal meaning behind an object, or something straightforward like the saw. It's totally up to you. It also doesn't have to be a car, it can be a bus, plane, train, or ship. Different vehicles can store different things or different concepts. This lays the foundation for the other methods. For the body method, you just need to remember objects or events on each part of your body. You can start at your toes and move your way up, or vice versa. I sometimes use this method to remember my dreams. A zombie apocalypse dream followed by a house party. Details can be, there's a horse standing on my head because in my dream I found a horse. Then a zombie running from one ear to the other because I got chased into a cave. Then my teeth are sharpened and a bit decayed because I got bit by the zombie. Then in my hand, I have a plate of cake because I went to a party afterwards. Of course, you can use this instead to remember things that happened in history, for instance. The PEG method is also very similar and has two subcategories. The first being the rhyme method. In this method, you come up with rhymes for the numbers, such as 1 bun, 2 shoe, 3 tree, 4 door, and so on. In each of these things, you make connections to whatever list or idea you wish to store for each one. So basically, the number one thing on your list has to relate to a bun, or something else that you choose that rhymes with 1, like sun. And then the number 2 thing on your list has to relate to a rhyme for number 2, and then so on. The shape method is the other PEG method, and in this one, you imagine objects that are shaped similarly to the numbers, such as a pencil for 1 and a duck for 2. And then you use these objects to make the connections to the information on your list. Okay, here is the big one. This is the method that Kevin and his friend used to memorize the first 10,000 digits of pi and memorize the Oxford Dictionary, respectively. The places or location method. So this one is essentially the same idea as the previous ones in terms of how the connections are made, but the long-term storage system you're using is a place that you're very familiar with. This can be a school, your home, a shopping mall, or so on. This basically means the storage capacity is unlimited because you can use every single corner, cabinet, or object to act as one storage unit. From there, you just practice walking through the location forward and in reverse, seeing the objects or events happening between the things in your list, and that acts as your memory recall. The more you practice, the faster you'll recall it. It's really that simple to explain, but it does take practice to get used to. Essentially what you're doing is imprinting your short-term memory into your long-term memory. So your long-term memory is your location. Places like your house or your school are locations that you know very well because you've been through them so many times in your life. If, for instance, you want to memorize the first 10,000 digits of pi, like Kevin did, you'll probably need a couple of locations or a very large location like a shopping mall. Once you've decided on the place, you need to decide on the journey. Where are you going to start in this location? What objects are you going to see? What things are going to happen? And in what order? Each object and each event is going to represent a number. And then from there, you keep practicing your journey over and over again until it's committed to memory. Kevin doesn't actually tell us what he assigns to each number because it really doesn't make sense for him to tell us. Why? Because his location and objects that he chose will not make sense for other people. It's in his long-term memory, so if he gave it to us, we wouldn't be able to use it as effectively. Okay, next are linking thoughts. An example is memorizing the list of presidents. First, you create keywords or events that connect to the president's names, and then create a story based on the connections. For instance, you see a man washing a tin with a large Adam's apple. A chef and her son hand him medicine, and then so on. Another way to approach links is to use linked images, where you take a lot of pictures that connect to a concept and then combine them into one picture. Once you make a strong connection to what each image is, you can create a story similar to the previous example. Kevin uses this set of images to remember the first 10 elements of the periodic table. Let's move on to names. Here's a memory method that more people can definitely use. Kevin claims that in the first 20 seconds of hearing somebody's name, you need to make a connection between the face and name, otherwise you will forget it. There are two methods he suggests. The first being the comparison method. Think of somebody with the same name as the person you just met and compare facial features. Once you make enough connections, you should be able to associate the face with the name. The second method is the face connection method. For this one, you find an outstanding feature in the person's face like their eyes, nose, or ears, and link it to their name. You can also connect it to an item. Like if their name is Hazel, imagine that they're holding a hazelnut. The author suggests that you keep these connections to yourself because people are very in tune with their names, so they could potentially be a bit sensitive if you're using their name in this way. The final memory method is for memorizing numbers. This is one of my favorite ones, and I've used this to memorize 50 phone numbers so far, and it's actually been useful on occasions where I've forgotten my phone. So in this method, we assign each number to a sound. I'll list out the letters that the sound is usually associated with, but don't be confused. Pay more attention to the sound than the spelling. 0 is the s sound, like hiss. 1 is the t or d sound, like in donkey. 2 is the n sound, like in donkey. 3 is the m sound, like in mom. 4 is the r sound, like rich. 5 is the l sound, like link. 6 is the j or sh or ch sound, like in job, chimp, or shrimp. 7 is the k sound, like in crack. 8 is the v or f sound, like in very. 9 is the b or p sound, like in berry, pop. Vowels are always ignored, so United States of America is 21101108347. Use this to remember phone numbers, birthdays, dates, stock prices, restroom codes, and so on. It takes practice to do this fast, and it's a good idea to have a standard set of words that match with double digits in case you want to memorize numbers really quickly. So you can make a list for 00, 01, 02, 03, all the way up to 100 if you're serious about remembering numbers quickly. I've done this for my friends' gate codes and restroom codes to places, so I can still access restrooms to places I've been to only once. So for this method, when you've made the words, you need to connect the meaning of the words with that person or event. I can't give you any examples since I would be giving one of my friends' phone numbers away, but let's say for 808-123-4567, which is face-off, denim, rail shock. For this, I'd imagine that person in a face-off with me, and he or she is wearing denims, standing on a rail, and then he or she gets shocked. Number memorized. Of course, for a number like that, it's super easy to remember anyways, but you guys get the idea. As a final overview, I believe if you're trying to memorize a very long list, the places method is your best bet. For shorter ideas, I'd use the body, car, or peg methods, but all of them use the mind movie or journey method. Links will be used for most of my future mind map videos, as I plan to have each big point be an image. To do a quick picture link for this mind map, let's say I'm driving a car, and I accidentally crashed into a peg. My body now flies through the car and hits the floor. I get up and enter a store, which is a place, and then I buy a chain to link it to my car. The worker asks me to fill out a form, so I fill in my name and number. Memory is a very important part of everybody's lives, and I believe it's worth improving. If you want to make your way towards unlimited memory, you can download the PDF summary in the description. It's absolutely free and you don't need to provide anything. You'll be taken to the PDFs right away. I'll be making a mind map summary video for all the books that have made an impact in my life so far for my Dreamlit Library series. I've also recently created a Patreon, so if you guys enjoyed this video, consider becoming a patron and you'll appear on my Dreamlit thank you page on my website, as well as the end of each of my main series videos. I plan on adding more rewards later. Let me know if you have any questions about the book in the comments below. Thanks for watching, I'll see you guys in the next one.